Hello, this is Dr. Jason Munsell. It is,
Oh, I forgot my little glasses.
these are my dad's. I just like them because I like them. And more like safety glasses, like the safety dance. One say, you can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind because the friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, then they're no friends of mine. But you are my friend. Um, Friends. In any case, I'll try to be brief here, which is not my forte. But I enjoyed our class the other night on Tuesday. I have put up, and I think I told you this on Tuesday, just a couple of days ago, that I do have a new thread up. I haven't looked at it yet, but asking you to start thinking about what office that you want to run for your big campaign project. And the campaign project grading rubric is now on KC for you. Um, and keep on tweeting. I yeah, and the election is on Tuesday. It's amazing. It's November, and the Cubs won last night. I don't really. I guess I should care. You know, I remember when I was a kid, and we got cable for the first time, and along with cable came WGN, which is Chicago. And so I watched the Cubs quite a bit when I was a kid, and Harry Carey and all that type of stuff. I'm not going to get on the bandwagon, but okay, whatever. So, what I want to do in this very brief video here is to take you through some initial important stuff from that second book that I said that we would be using in this classroom that is much more sort of practical than the much more sort of theoretical, conceptual stuff that we covered the first half of the semester using Han's book. And so everything that I'm going to discuss here for the next few minutes come from the ceiling that has problems, and they're in my thumb. Okay, technical difficulties. This book, Political Communication, Principles and Practices, the 7th edition, by Judith Trent, Robert V. Friedenberg, and Robert E. Ditton Jr. And what I'm really going to do is just sort of take you through some of the stages that we oftentimes see, or research has indicated that exist within the presidential primary, well, the whole process, campaign process. And I do have this PowerPoint on KC for you. It's been up since Tuesday because I didn't know exactly what I was going to be able to get through on Tuesday. But in any case, and if you can't see this again, blah blah, you'll be able to listen along to me and look on the PowerPoint if you want to. But again, what I'm offering you is some ideas about the communicative functions of political campaigns within the perspective of there are certain stages that that political campaigns, particularly presidential campaigns, go through. So, stage 1 is usually called surfacing. That's what we call the first stage because people surface as candidates. One of the things that this extra book says is that really this stage is about a series of predictable and specifically timed rhetorical transactions. And rhetorical transactions, you should probably guess what that means by now, sort of intentional, persuasive messages of political communication, which serve as consummatory and instrumental functions during the pre-primary stage. So this is before the primary. Consummatory means it's just more symbolic sort of messaging, whereas instrumental means more pragmatic. Symbolic is sometimes sort of more ritualistic types of things, although ritualistic is also pragmatic, but it sort of blurs into one another. This is just sort of the distinction, symbolic versus pragmatic, that this particular book uses. But, so there's these series of things that candidates or people must do to sort of create themselves as candidates. Because you're not born a candidate. Maybe but you gotta make yourself a candidate. I'm Jason, and then I do these things. I am Jason running for whatever. I would never win anything. It was on the news last night. I haven't seen it. they called like 2 hours before class, the day class. So if you watch WLTX, you might have seen the day class of Political Comm. Okay, so surfacing. Some of the symbolic things that we want to do. We want to demonstrate that we are presidential material or fit for whatever office. The book generally says that we want to be seen as trustworthy, smart, all that type of stuff. So, what are some things that we do? Oftentimes, again, their assumption is that people might already know you. If they don't, you have to have some things that you do to sort of build your ethos, your credibility. Some people write books. Some people try to get on the news or be a public servant, an advocate, or whatever. But you got to get out there, and people have to see you as these idealistic, sort of, well, ideally fit for the office, but that usually means being trustworthy, being smart. And the book, on page 126 here, I can quote it at length, but it basically just says that, generally speaking, people want our candidates to be compassionate, articulate, poised, honorable, and the higher the office, the more judgmental voters become. Although, again, we haven't, well, Okay, so we do lots of different things. So people out there will see, will figure out who we are, will know us, and also see us as fit for the office. You want to be out there. You want people to know who you are. Sometimes folks start volunteering in communities, or maybe sometimes you start little and go big. Like if you want to run for mayor or town council, you start off by being a volunteer on some sort of community, this or that, the neighborhood association, whatever. But the people who are going to vote for you, you want them to know you and see you as fit for office. Then we initiate political rituals. Perhaps one of the most important ones is the announcement speeches. At some point, if you're running for office, you're going to, even if I think you're running for a sort of local office, you're going to have some sort of staged thing where you're giving a speech. You want to have folks out there and you say, state your name, I am running for blah, blah, blah. And that sort of makes you a candidate. I am going to put on KC for you, and you're probably not going to want to watch the entire thing because it's sort of long. But some of the announcement stuff of our current candidates, Trump and Clinton, I'm going to skip the third party, folks. Sorry. If you might recall, I've got a lot of news because you want these news to cover this stuff too. So Trump was at the Trump Towers. He rode down his little escalator, and then Ivanka introduced him, and then he talked about himself for an hour, and then Clinton had a big speech in New York with lots of folks there, and she also had a little video that she made announcing her candidacy. So I'll put that stuff so you can look at it. But one of the things you have to do is, I'm so-and-so, I'm running for this, that announcement speech. And instrumental functions. What do we do as consumers of all this, but also as candidates? What happens during this surfacing time? We start learning about the candidates, who they actually are. Oftentimes folks will have websites and have biographical information out there, or they'll start doing interviews so folks know who they are. We as consumers, as voters, start developing expectations of administrative and personal candidate style. So what do they stand for? What's their sort of managerial style? I don't know. And oftentimes, it depends on if this is the first office or second office. But we start developing, okay, this is what this person is like, so this is what this person is going to do. Candidates also start determining the dominant themes or issues of the campaign, what they're going to run on, their platform, their vision, and what we can also call a rhetorical agenda. And one of the things that's important, and this is more a very practical from a candidate point of view, you want to be very, very savvy about this. You want to know the pulse of the people because generally you want your issue to be the most important issue on the people's mind. So if you win the agenda setting, if everybody sort of resonates with your issue that's the issue, that's what I'm concerned about, then that's halfway to the win. You might remember for Clinton, they made the I'm talking Bill here, the very first 1992, they made it all about the economy. James Carville used to say it's the economy's stupid. And they sort of won that in part because they won the battle of what is the important issue. But we learned during this time what the themes and the issues are for the candidate. Still in this very first stage, we try to figure out who are the serious contenders and who are these crazy folks who, hi, I'm Billy, Bob, six pack, Yingling, Bud, and I'm running on the ticket for horses. I don't know. But oftentimes, the folks who are not not perceived or deemed as worthy or fit for office, but just are out there, they usually, fall out of favor. But so we sort of decide, okay, who are these folks as a voter? Who am I going to take seriously out there? Who's a really serious contender? It's really interesting that a lot of us did not take Trump as a serious contender, but here we are. Media and candidates here in the surfacing page, space, stage, situation, context, whatever you want to call it. Get to know one another. And so as a candidate, you want to sort of reach out to the media and get to know the media. You want the media to love you, but try to get some media recognition, send news releases and press releases, I should say, and all that type of stuff. So, generally, what we see here, what the research has indicated, what this book says, is that generally we have 7 functions in this area. We have 2 generally symbolic ones and then much more pragmatic ones. So we got to show we're fit for office, announce that we're candidates, and then folks start learning about the candidates, folks develop expectations of the candidates, candidates develop their issues and themes, we figure out who the serious contenders are, weed out the others, and we, as candidate, we want to start having a relationship with the media, and the media starts sort of showcasing this person as a candidate. Stage 1, surfacing. I'm a candidate. Look, I'm a candidate. Stage 2, primaries. Now, not every office is going to have a primary, but if it's a partisan, blah, 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 yeah. So the primaries here are very important, and research indicates, and I don't know what the current stuff is, but generally speaking, folks tend to actually vote more in the primaries than the general election. That's what they say. I don't know. And there are five communicative functions here. Is a good source of feedback for the candidates. They can learn from their mistakes, and oftentimes candidates make plenty of mistakes. Maybe they said something stupid on a primary debate, or they actually change their stance on an issue because they find out their stance isn't very popular. Because you want to be popular, you want to stand where the people stand. Also, it becomes a source of information for voters. Very obviously, our first impressions tend to last with us, and so we'll see this or that candidate out there and think a certain something of them from maybe a news interview or a initial commercial or a flyer or whatever, and our impressions tend to stick with us. So voters start learning about the candidates more so in the primary season or the primary stage. citizens start to get involved,